Hello everyone and welcome to the presentation of my final game project. In this video I'll be covering how this project relates to my career path, research and development for the design of my piece, creation of my final environment, and the things that I learned and improved on within this module. I first want to talk about how this project has relevance to my intended career path. When I graduate, I want to have a career within architectural visualization. This may be becoming a 3D modeler for an architect firm or producing entire environments for clients, but in order for me to gain any experience in this, I thought it would be a good idea to use a real life situation for my final game project. Therefore, my project is based around someone I know in the real world, which I will explain more about in a moment. Having experience in a real life situation is something that I could take forward within my career and use to my advantage, and being involved in a real life situation is something that has developed my skills and put me to the test in many different ways. My real life situation was based around my barber Christopher James. Chris owns a barbershop in my hometown and had the same interior for his shop for a number of years. He's looking to give the place a makeover so his business can attract more new customers and keep his existing customers happy. Chris is a huge fan of Manchester City and his memorabilia is in the shop, which attracts a lot of the local City fans in the local area and have their haircuts with Chris. This is something that is very important to him. My first job with Chris was to sit down and discuss what direction we wanted to take the design of the shop in and draw up some guidelines and rules when creating the new salon. So as you can see by my brief we drew up on my phone, we split this into 4 main bullet points. The first of these was being declutter the salon. I found a lot of clutter and stuff we needed to clean up in order to attract more customers. So that was the first one. Second point was to keep the City memorabilia. Of course, it attracts a lot of the local City fans, so this is something we need to keep. But also on the bullet point there, I put modernise the look of it. The next feature was to have a feature wall. Chris suggested we have maybe a grey brick wall. So that's something that I wanted to make a priority. And the final one was to keep some of the decor, but to create new chairs and a sink chair. He said that his barber chairs were getting quite old, so he said that that is something he wanted to improve on. Keeping in with these guidelines will make Chris a satisfied client and will make sure his business carries on to thrive in the market. Once I drew up this brief, the most important thing to do next was gather lots of reference. Although I've been visiting Chris's salon for a number of years, it was important to gather reference to determine proportions for the interior. I would be able to block out my environment a lot easier if I did this. I also took measurements within the shop to again finely tune the proportions. The blockout process was quite simple due to me having all the measurements that I required. I created some placeholder materials for the walls and floor and had something I could build from. At this stage in the project I created a prototype for switching materials within the game engine. I thought it would be a good idea to give Chris some freedom when it comes to choosing colours for the furniture within the scene. I created a blueprint and applied it to these barber chairs, and I could change the colour for both of the chairs from black to white. At first, this is something that I liked the look of as it gave Chris a choice, but later on reflection, this seemed not so much of a good idea as I wanted to be decisive in my design choices and show some confidence in my work. To add to this, certain combinations of colours clashed and didn't give me the outcome that I anticipated. While blocking the room out, it gave me a chance to set up the lighting for my scene. At first I wanted to use static lighting for the scene as I could get a better outcome for an indoor scene, but after a chat with my tutor, we agreed that the best way to render the colour swapping feature would be to use dynamic lighting. Of course I didn't use this feature in the end, but the dynamic lighting still looked realistic and worked well. Once I completed the block out, it was time to start creating assets for the scene and design the interior so I knew what I was making. Mood boards were the best way to create my design as I could see existing furniture and examples of interiors to base my design off. A rustic design is one I chose in the end. I did briefly experiment with a modern and clean look, but this didn't complement the type of shop Chris owns and would be more suited to a salon or something a bit more upmarket. I decided to use a Chesterfield sofa within my design as this would be a statement piece and would give the room a lot of character and definition. I would keep Chris's memorabilia dotted around the room in the form of 3 large canvases along the wall and give the customers old Manchester City magazines and match programmes to read while they wait. Finally, the colour scheme would be tailored to suit the Man City theme. Once the design of the interior was set, I then started modelling and creating assets. I started creating the larger assets first, such as the barber chairs and the reception desk. This gave me a better idea of how the room would look, and after I created these large assets, I could fill in the rest of the room with smaller assets and details. I feel throughout this project my workflow is sped up dramatically. This may be due to me running over the same techniques over and over again, but I feel I can make assets quicker without having to sacrifice any detail to my work. Baking normal maps wasn't something I was too fond of before this project, but I have much better understanding of high and low poly models and the importance of baking normals. I feel the quality of my prop textures have improved too, as I have started using Quixel a lot more, and this has allowed me to add much more detail to the normal maps of my props, as you can see here on these wax tins. One thing I set out to do when embarking on this project was to improve on my overall quality of modelling. Creating high and low poly models more frequently helped to do this. I feel confident in my modelling skills, and this shows within my project. A lot of assets were based on things in real life, such as these metal advertising posters I bought online to use as reference, and also the giant cork which is included in Chris's original shop. Upon reflection of my final project, I feel like I created something similar to Chris's shop. I organised a meeting to show him the final result, and he has decided that he will take this into consideration when he gives his shop the makeover. I have also delivered on all 4 points of the brief that we agreed on, which I was satisfied with. If I could change anything to the project, I would have created my own HDRI file for the background of the scene. Although it captures the lighting well and looks a good fit, I feel like the scene looks like it was somewhere different to Chris's salon, and this is something I'd want to change. I'd also add more hair props to the scene, such as a pair of scissors and more hair products. Apart from that though, I feel like I've lived up to the expectations from Chris. To follow up on the proposal I made at the start of the project, I set out to create a set of beauty shots and a walkthrough of the level. Due to the change in design features, I felt this wasn't necessary anymore, and I thought that I would make something more professional if I created a fly-through of my level instead. I felt like I kept to my schedule well, although if I could attempt the project again, I would have started creating assets a bit earlier, because I did find myself short of time towards the end of the project. Apart from this, I kept to the proposal and I think I delivered my project well. This will leave me in a good position as I can use this piece as part of my portfolio and help me climb the ladder to reach my goal of being employed in the architectural visualization world. Over summer I intend to create more environments and bulk out my portfolio even more. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for listening, and I will see you in my next project.